In this episode, we are chatting with musical guest Whey Jennings, who will be performing at the 2025 Swamp Cabbage Festival in LaBelle, Florida. Whether you are already a fan or this is your first time with us, welcome, and let's get started.
A big Florida welcome to all of our listeners. Welcome to the Sounds of Florida podcast, the show where we have the pleasure of speaking with some of our fabulous musical artists. We also explore some stories of Florida and we talk about ideas that will shape our state. My name is Keisha, and I am the host of today's episode where we'll be talking to musical artist Whey Jennings. So grab a cup of coffee or some sweet iced tea and let's dive in. Good morning, Mr. Jennings. How you doing?
Doing really well. How you doing, Keisha?
Not too bad, not too bad. I can't complain. It's feeling great outside. I'm enjoying this Florida weather right now. And I'm excited to talk to you today. So thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, you're very welcome. Very welcome. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. So I'd like to get started by first congratulating you on your sobriety journey. 4 years and soon to be five. How are you celebrating the milestones that come year after year?
It's gotten to where I'm so far away from where I was that, every day is a celebration. I get up every day and, I start the day early and, I go out and I enjoy nature and I hang out with my kids before they go to school and then hang out with my wife for a little while. And especially this time of year, it makes it that much easier, man. I just love life around the holidays. And it's just all the things I missed out on while I was on drugs, I'm able to enjoy them now. I celebrate every day now.
Oh my God, that's beautiful. And I know you posted a wonderful campaign on your Instagram page called 21 Days of Awareness. Can you talk a little bit about that campaign and what it means to you?
Yeah, with my music, that's the one thing I got in my toolbox is music, and I wouldn't be able to feel good about myself if I didn't use my platform to try to help people that are going through things that I went through in my life. So on these last few albums, I've put out songs that touch on everything that means something to me, whether it be, Jesus or sobriety or this country or family or, just everything that means something to me, I've been putting into my music, and I kind of sprinkle it in there with songs that, keep people moving around and having a good time. But, it's kind of like I tell people about my shows. I mean, when you come out there, you're going to have a great time, but you're also going to leave with a piece of me. So that's what I've been trying to do with my albums as well. And I put out a song called Sleeves on this one. It's a really dark song with a glimmer of hope at the end of it. And I didn't feel good just putting it out and saying, bam, shock factor. You know what I mean? So what I did was I put a whole campaign behind it. And I answered one question every day for 21 days that has to do with drug addiction, the best of my ability. They weren't textbook answers, they were answers from my heart and what I know of drug addiction from myself. And that's what the 21 Days of Awareness was about. It was about me trying to touch people who are going through things that I've been through in my life. Because, it tends to have a greater effect on people if it's coming from somebody who's been there. I mean, a lot of times, like with the DARE thing back when I was a kid, it seemed like it was coming from an authoritarian point of view. You know what I
Right.
mean? It didn't come from somebody who had been through it. And I'm trying to, try to come to people from a place of I've been there, I understand, and this is how I did it. It may not work for you, but if it does, this is how I did it. Here's the playbook. If you want to do it, join me on my journey, kind of a thing.
I love that. I definitely got the feel listening to the album, which of course we'll talk about a little bit later. And I know many of your songs are dedicated to the movement that you are a part of. To me, a lot of the songs, as you mentioned, can be therapeutic to your audience. Do you also find that in writing these songs and creating this music is also therapeutic for you as well?
Certainly, yes, very much so. Because I'm still on a journey as well. I mean, I'm not like, hey, I'm reached the finish line. Hey, come join me. You know what I mean? It's like I'm still learning and growing myself. I'm not like, hey, I'm sober. It's over. That's what I tell people all the time. It's like, yeah, I've been sober for almost 5 years, but it's not all. Your journey is not all about sobriety. You got to get sober, and then you got to put your life back together in a correct manner, and then you got to figure out what means something to you, and you got to live your life going down that path.
Absolutely.
Because as humans, we all have addictive personalities. It's just finding something that's healthy and is good for you and good for others to be addicted to. You know, it's like you can either be addicted to destroying your life, or you can be addicted to building yourself up and people around you as well. And that's kind of where I'm at in my journey now. It's like I'm not a perfect person. I'm a lot better today than I was yesterday, and I think I'll be a lot better tomorrow than I am today. So we'll see how it goes.
Gosh, you just got goosebumps. I have to write that down. Thank you. So I can tell you're a big family guy. You know, I have heard sprinkles of your family in your music and in your interviews. And speaking of which, I read the People magazine interview where you attribute much of your sobriety and your success to your wife and to your kids. How has your
Mhm.
sobriety changed the way you connect with your family, your wife and your kids?
Well, it's given me ability to, before you got really, I wasn't only a drug addict, I was very morally warped for a long time in my life. I didn't have a grasp on what was important in life and what to do and what not to do. I've always gotten into scripture, but I was in it more of a point of trying to pick it apart when I was younger. And I found out later in life that it wasn't just my drug addiction that was making me bad. It was my mindset about a lot of things. Like I wasn't able to be faithful. I wasn't able to be a good father. I wasn't able to be even a good human being. I wasn't out there ripping people off, but the advice I was giving people was molded towards the life I was leading and making what I was doing okay rather than making what should be okay okay.
Mm,
It was like once I got sober and I found God with my girlfriend at the time, and who is now my wife, and we forgave each other for our moral warpness. And we decided that we was going to give our lives to God and bring our children home and raise more children and create a life together. We got on the right path and started. We unwarped our moral structure, and it's straight as an arrow now. I mean, I don't ever see my eyes wandering. I can tell when a woman is beautiful, but I see her as a human being, as a woman
right.
who is beautiful and has more to offer than just, trying to pick up and take home. You know what I mean? It's like that's what I told my wife. I was like, I've always enjoyed admiring women, but I admired them in the wrong ways before. Now I see a very good, strong human being in front of me. And yes, she is beautiful, but she has this, and this to offer too. And the beauty comes from within. And it ain't something that I'm morally warped enough to be chasing for the wrong reasons. I want to get to know a human being rather than get to know something else that I've given to you already
Yes.
as my wife. So it's really attributed a lot to me. It gave me a chance to be a better human being. It gave me a chance to enjoy all of humanity in the way that they should be enjoyed. Because, all I ever thought about for the longest time when I was on drugs was I intensified my inner selfish urges. Now I've got all that is given to my wife, and it opens up all of Earth to me to enjoy humans for what they are and not just something
What they can do for you.
what they can do for me. Exactly.
That's amazing. That's incredible. And it sounds like you have gained so much insight and so much wisdom because of what you've endured and what you've been through. Can you talk a little bit about some of the values that you learned growing up in the family that you grew up with and how you have taken the values that you learned from them and passed those down to the family that you have now?
Yeah. Whenever I was young, I always, I've lived with different people in my life. I mean, mostly my mother. I mean, and we always went to like Sunday school. We went to church, and then my mom always told me, you never steal and you never lie. Those are the two things that she would not put up with at all. And then from there, she was a hardworking woman. She went to work and supported us as kids. So from there, I had to take that and run with it. And I ran the wrong direction with it for the longest time. I've had people I've looked up to in my life, and most of them are dead and gone now. But my moral structure was given to me by my mother and my father, my grandparents, and in this little small bits and pieces. And I had to figure out a lot of it on my own, and it wasn't any fault of theirs. It was just the life we lead, and this is what has to be done to support the family. This is what has to be done to make sure everybody survives. So I've had to look for answers rather than just be provided to me. And I looked for all the answers, not just the right ones, not just the wrong ones, but all of them. And I feel like I have untangled a knot for the most part, but I'm still learning. Like I said, I'm still on this journey. I'm still learning answers to questions. And sometimes I just get completely surprised. Like I started going to this new church with my wife about a year ago, and the pastor at this church, he puts things in ways that I understand it all of a sudden. Like I've gone to a lot of churches in my life, you know what I mean? And I've always had questions at the end of the sermon when I left. I was like, what's this mean? What's that mean? And it's like, right now, I was like, I don't leave with those questions. I'm like, okay, yeah. You know? So it's like, it's not who you are and where you come from, it's where you're at and what you're able to understand and what you're looking for in life. You know, if you're looking for something bad in life, you're going to find something bad in life. If you're looking for understanding and answers and direction, and you pray for that, you'll find that too. So, you know, I think I might have got off the question you asked, but I've just been on this journey. This is where I'm at right now.
I love
That's the only answer I can come up with on that.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. And on this journey, when did the journey of I'm in love with music, I'm in love with artistry, I'm in love with writing, when did that journey start for you? Can you remember the moment that you said, I want to do that? I want to get on the stage. I want to perform live. I want to write music. I want to perform. When did that start for you?
I started at a very young age. I mean, I was just a young boy. You know, it had a lot to do with my grandfather, of course. You know, and my grandmother. And you know, being a little bitty kid and walking by this big giant stage, it looks like a whole nother world up there. You know, and then being called out on, not even being called out on, just walking out on that stage and just feeling the energy that's on that stage. You know, it made me want to do that at a very young age. And then when I got about that age that a boy becomes a man, I went out there and froze like a deer in headlights. You know what I mean? It's just, I decided differently at that point. I was like, okay, maybe that energy ain't as nice as I thought it was. So I went to work on a cotton farm for a long time, and I went to work at a few other small jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Then my mama talked me into going ahead and trying it again, and I did. At that point, I had more respect for it because you know when you're a kid, you ain't got respect for nothing. You're just like, hey, the world's my playground. When you get older, you start. At first, it scares you, and then you gain a respect for it, and you look at it and you realize, is this something that you're really willing to give your whole life to, or is this something that you're just playing around with? You may ought to go try to do something else. It turned out I wanted to be something I'd give my life to. I feel like I'm on a mission. I feel like I got a gift from God, and I'm supposed to use this to not only make a living but make a difference. So that's what I'm trying to do.
That's beautiful. Now, obviously, your grandfather being Waylon Jennings, I'm sure you grew up in a musical household, surrounded by music and things like that. How long after you first had that deer in the headlights moment, where you're like, maybe I should rethink this, until the moment where your mom said, "Listen, I think you should give it another go. I think you should really take this thing seriously and put your heart into it." What was that period like? Where you said you were doing the odd jobs and stuff. You started out as a kid kind of interested, but then later on you kind of started taking it seriously.
Well, whenever I was trying to change my direction on music, I went into sports. Is what I did,
Nice.
and I played football for quite a few years when I was young. And then I got hurt playing football, and then I started following the wrong crowd because if you ain't got an extracurricular activity, then you end up with an extracurricular activity.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I started running around with the wrong crowd at a young age. So the time between the deer in the headlights and the come to Jesus moment,
Yeah.
you know, there was a lot of drug addiction and bad decisions. And, you know, I tell a lot of people all the time, it's like when you look at a drug addict, you can't look at them and say, well, they did it to themselves because, you know, it's just like anything else. You don't do it to yourselves. You do it to have fun. And then fun turns into a mess, you know, it's just the way it is. And that's what it did for me. It turned into a mess. And I got into music while I was still in a mess, you know. I wrote a bunch of good songs and I had a bunch of good times. At least I thought they were good times. Looking back now, they probably weren't that good. Wasn't until I got sober that I was really able to, flourish at what I'm doing,
Yeah.
and actually put my mind to something. Because when you're on drugs, you're just a scatterbrain, dude, just all over the place.
Yeah.
And I feel like looking back that I made a mockery of my family name for a lot of years, you know. I didn't respect anything. I didn't look at it like an adult should. I looked at it like a kid, even though I was 30 years old. I was looking at it like I was 13. It was like a party, a playground. It's like, hey, And then when I finally woke up from that nightmare, I realized that I had a lot of footwork I had to do, not only just go forward, I had to go back and clean up a lot of messes too, you know? And I'm still cleaning up them messes. There's a lot of people who still remember me being that human being. And a lot of people who have forgiven me, and a lot of people who refuse to forgive me, and that's okay. And it's just from there to here has been a rodeo and a half, man. It's been crazy. I made a big mess. I feel like I've cleaned up a lot of that mess. I feel like a lot of people are still giving me a little bit of rope here, but not. They're still kind of iffy about it. But I'm here to tell you right now, man, that person died. I'm a completely different person. I eat different food. I got a different mindset. I wake up early in the morning. Look at me, I'm here before 9 o'clock in the morning on the telephone. Before I wouldn't even be up for another 6 hours. It's all there is. That gap in between deer and headlights and here was a life lesson like I wouldn't recommend to anybody,
Hmm.
but you learn a lot.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you that right now.
Well, that's obvious, and it shows through in your music. It shows through in your videos. I saw that you did a collaboration with Johnny Cash's grandson, which was amazing. Like that was outstanding. I really enjoyed that. What was that like for you to actually sing with another legend's grandson?
I actually got a lot of friends that are related to people. You gotta realize a lot of people look at music like it's a one-off thing when family. If you have somebody who did this for a living in your family,
Hmm.
it's a family business.
Mm.
I mean, so you have to go the same places they did to do the music. You have to go
God,
record the same places they did, and you're gonna run across people who are related to other people who were doing the same thing back then.
makes
You know what I mean? So I have a lot of friends who are family members of people who have already made it in their lives.
yeah,
And we're all on our own journeys as well.
yeah,
There's an expression thrown around quite a bit, and loosely it shouldn't be thrown around that we all riding on coattails. But there are no coattails to be riding on. It's like you're either able to do this or you're not. That's it. It's like saying, okay, my granddaddy was a super plumber, so I woke up this morning and I know everything about plumbing.
right.
And that's just no, that ain't the way it works. In order to do something with your life, you have to learn your craft and then apply it.
Hmm.
And that don't matter what you're doing, whether you're related to somebody who did it before or not. You got to learn the craft and apply it. That's all there is to it.
Yeah,
And to say anybody's riding on coattails is crazy. It's like that's like saying you can go out there and you can perform with zero knowledge of the ability to perform, and that's just not something that can happen. You got to know songs, you got to have rhythm, you got to be able to get on stage and not freak out to the crowd. It's like there's a lot to it when it comes to
oh yeah,
being a musician. But yeah, it's awesome seeing other family members of people who have already made it, who are thriving as well.
yeah,
Thomas Gabriel's one, Jesse Keith Whitley's one. Braylon Nelson's one. It's just so many of us. It's a great life we live, and it's a choice. It's not something that we're given. It's something that we choose, and we fight hard for and work hard for.
yeah. And that shows. I mean, I know you're on tour right now. You're running all over the place, not just Florida, but I believe you got a couple of shows in Texas that are just passed or coming up. Talk about the tour and the album that you're out there promoting right now.
Well, this is my first full length album, believe it or not. I'm 43 years old. It's my first full length album.
Congratulations.
It's called Jekyll and Hyde, and I decided this is going to be an album. I've been doing EPs for a decade, which is kind of half albums, because believe it or not, I haven't had no coattails to ride on. I've funded everything I've ever done on my own. I've had no backers. I've had no nothing. I've had to go out there, work for money, take that money, spend it on making albums and doing this. And I finally met up with a bunch of cool guys at Dirt Rock Empire who put their hope and trust in me and have helped me guide me through all this. And them on top of my team, my manager, Miss Tammy Carolla, she's been there with me since I probably wasn't even worth being around. And I just got this great team, David and Jason and my beautiful wife. And there's just so many people to mention. But anyways, they put their hope and their trust in me, and they showed me where to put the money and how to do this. And we have really grown something special together. And this album is called Jekyll and Hyde for a reason. It's because no matter who you are or where you're going through in life, we've all got that devil on one shoulder and an angel on the other, and you got to really, really keep your demons at bay. you know. So I started this album out in the darkness, and I run it clean into the light. And you know, I've never been more proud of anything I've ever done in my life as far as music. And I feel like we touched on things that were important in this album. And you know, we don't have $1 million budget to promote it, but if we did, I guarantee you every song on this album would be on the charts. Because to me, and to just about anybody I know and love that's listened to it, these songs are worth it. And they've really helped people and they've helped me. And I'm proud of it. It's called Jekyll and Hyde. And if anybody wants to look me up, it's right there to be found.
Well, I've done just that, and I mean, $1 million budget or not, not everybody's out there getting a million views on their videos on YouTube, which you have accomplished, and that is an incredible feat. I think your artistry is extremely creative. I love the work that you put into your videos. I was reading the People magazine article again, and it was talking about this house that was on fire, and the lady that you used in the video,
Yeah.
the woman. There was kind of a story behind that.
Yeah, she said, "You can come use my house." And I was like, "Well, oh, we got to set it on fire." She's like, "Set it on fire. I'll throw all my boyfriend's clothes in the yard. Do whatever you want. Break my dishes. Do anything you want to do." And I was like, "Well, sheesh, we wasn't gonna do all that, but with some special, not really special effects, but lighting and smoke and stuff like that, we made it look good." She was just more than willing to let us do anything in the world at that house, and it was cool. That video turned out awesome. It was a video for 10-day run. And it was just killer. I mean, it was a great experience. That lady was so helpful.
I'm sure. Yeah, that was awesome to read. And I'm sure the difference between like when you're performing live, right? And when you're in the studio, and also when you're creating a video are probably three very different experiences. Can you talk about what it's like, first of all, to be out on the stage? Ain't no more deer in the headlights. This is the real deal. This is it, you know. So what's that like? You're on the stage, you gotta connect with your audience. I'm sure they're yelling out different things and you gotta kind of give them what they want, but then also you have to perform what you're there to perform, you know. What's all going on when you're up there on the stage and it's showtime?
Well, it's just like a lot of people don't understand it. You know, as a band,
Yeah,
you could be the greatest band in the world,
sure.
but the most important part of a band is the crowd.
Right.
You know, I mean, that's what we feed off of.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's like going to eat dinner and there being nothing on the table, or going to eat dinner and there being a whole buffet on the table. You know what I mean? That's the difference in a crowd and no crowd. You know, and You know, the crowd is why we're there. You know, without them, we would not be able to be there. So you want to give them everything you got.
Yeah.
Now I'm telling you, that's what the part about being a musician. A lot of people don't understand is that yeah, we're only on that stage for 90 minutes, but we leave everything we are on that stage. You know, and it's just the amount of energy that it takes from you to put on a show
Yeah.
that we willingly give, you know, I mean, we willingly give it, but the amount of energy it takes in that short period of time is insane. I never could understand. I used to work on a cotton farm. I'd work 15 hours a day, and I wouldn't be as tired as I was after an hour and a half show on
Oh.
stage.
Yeah,
You know,
I'm sure.
it's something that you really just have to experience to be able to know it because it ain't something I can put into words. Being on stage and performing is terrifying and amazing and great, and it's so much fun, and it's so important. It's the greatest experience of my life other than being a husband and a father,
Yeah.
you know? Other than being a husband and a father and knowing my God, performing on stage is the greatest thing I know, and it's something I never wanna have to not be able to do. Let's put it that way.
And you give me the impression, based on the research that I've done, that if there's one person in that crowd, you're going to perform just as hard as if there's a million people in that crowd. You're still going to give it all you got because the passion is just there. It's obvious that you love this thing, and you're here to do what you're doing. And I love that for you. Now, as far as writing in the studio or performing in the studio, recording, right? Do you have like a certain ritual, a certain thing you have to do? You have to have like you got to have all white Tic Tacs, or you got to have a 7 Up, or you got to have like everything has to be perfect in that setting for you. Nothing like that.
No, no, I show up there and I talk to the guys and I pray. And then we go at these songs as much as see they've already got the songs about a week or two in advance. They pretty much know what they're gonna do when I get there. I pretty much know what I'm gonna do when I get there, and it don't ever turn out that way. So it's like To say that there's a recipe for it
Mm-hmm.
it's not, because I've been in the studio 4 or 5 different times now, and it's been 4 or 5 different experiences. I mean, you never know what's going to happen, because it's like saying I can tell the future. I can't. What I mean, I know before I went and recorded this album, I was worried about a few of the songs and how I was going to make them work and all this. So I doubted myself all the way up until I got to the studio. And then we got in the studio and it just came together like a blessing,
Of course.
you know? And it was like, so I've come to find out that the old adage that you tell God your plans and he laughs
Yes.
is very much true.
Uh-huh.
And so what I do is I try to gather as much as I can now. And no matter how I feel about it, I put it in God's hands and we go in the studio and we create. And I prayed
Hmm.
that the future is bright.
Yeah, I
That's
definitely
what I
think it
do.
will be, especially if you keep recording hits like 10 Day Run. That was one of my favorite. But I think the song that I connected with the most was probably One Folded. Can you talk about what inspired One Folded?
Well, one photo, I was down in Muscle Shoals riding with a buddy of mine, and he told me about this song. He had pitched it to a couple other people, and it was kind of a touchy subject here and there. And I was like, with today's climate, it's like a lot of people didn't want to get into that. I was like, well, I will,
Hmm.
because it means a lot to me. It's the truth. The American flag represents lives of people who have fought and died for this country. And it's just that's something that I believe should be respected. Just because we have the right to not respect it, don't mean it's right to not respect it. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's one thing I've never understood. All of our rights in this country are called rights for a reason. They're giving us the right to go out and speak on things that we're right about and not have to worry about being prosecuted about it. You know what I mean? They're not giving us the right to go out there and do wrong. I mean, yeah, you can use it that way, but is that a good thing to do that? You know what I mean? So I figure maybe if somebody sees the weight of what they're disrespecting, maybe they'll change their mind and realize just because we have the right to do that, probably don't mean we should.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Because that ain't what the rights were brought on. The rights were given to us based on a good moral structure and integrity. You know what I mean? They weren't given to us to go out there and just be horrible people with. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, we're going to disrespect everything that made us who we are because we can. I mean? There's a lot of ways to make a point without doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the reason I felt so strongly about putting that song on this album is because, I do realize that there are a lot of injustices in this world. I do realize that there is always been something worth fighting for. But I also do realize there are ways to fight that don't warp our integrity as human beings. And I feel like there are ways, even though they may be a harder route or a longer drawn out route to victory, that we can accomplish our goals without tearing down what gave us the ability to accomplish these goals. You know what I mean? So that's what that song means to me. It means that, I know who I am and where I come from. And I'm proud of who I am and where I come from, regardless of what society wants me to believe. I am proud of me, and I'm going to continue to be proud of me,
Yeah.
and that's just the way it is. And I want to also be proud of my fellow Americans. So I'm trying to get people back on the right track with that song.
Well, I think it definitely provides a beautiful perspective when you talk about, you may see the flag this way, but if you see one folded, if you see what it's like when the military men, fold the flag, at a processional or a service, and then they're handing it to, a grieving loved one. I think it was just a beautiful perspective to share when you look at the flag from that perspective, but also very emotional, just based on our military men, our veterans, different things like that. Me also being a veteran of the Air National Guard, I thought it was a beautiful sentiment, to share that perspective. And I enjoyed watching that video as well. On tour, while you're out now, I think you have some shows also planned for December. Are you going to be performing songs from both Jekyll and Hyde and also your previous works as well? Or are you just promoting Jekyll and Hyde coming up?
No, I do. My show has been a constant growth. You know, what I mean, it's been. I do some of my grandfather's songs. I do a lot of my own songs, and everything that we know, we do. You know, what I mean, we try to squeeze it into a 90-minute show.
Hmm.
Sometimes I take it over, and sometimes, it just depends. But mostly, I do the songs that mean the most to me.
Mm,
'Cause I feel like if they mean the most to me, they're gonna mean the most to everybody else. You know
absolutely.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And if somebody requests one that I don't plan on doing, then I will do that one. You know, it just depends on the crowd. When it comes to entertainment, I've never been able to run in there with a set list
Hmm.
and an order and just do that. I mean, I run in there with all my songs written on a piece of paper, and I just pick them out as I go based on what I believe that crowd needs at that moment in time. And that's what I do. I usually do the same first three songs because it's a pretty good little recipe to get everybody in the palm of my hands.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And then from that point forward, look at the crowd and decide what song is going to affect
Mhm.
that moment in time the best. It's about the moment, not about the song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, that's beautiful. That's what makes what you do so special because it's more than just getting out there and performing a song. It's a connection. You're building a relationship with these people, and
Hmm.
I think you do that very, very well, and I can appreciate that. Now, as much as I would like to, I'm not going to monopolize your day because I could ask 1,000 more questions. But what I would like to do at this moment is allow you to tell us more about the shows that you have coming up so that our listeners can know where to find you. I also want you to talk about your social media pages, how our listeners can follow you and find out more, and also about your YouTube. Give us the name and how we can find out more and follow you on this journey.
Okay. First of all, my name is Whey Jennings, and it's spelled very weirdly, so listen closely. It's Whey Jennings. And you can Google that and find out just about anything you want to about me.
Hmm.
I have a website. It's wheyjennings.com. And on that website is my entire schedule of my tour schedule. If you scroll down, and along with a bunch of my YouTube links for my videos and everything. My YouTube page is Whey Jennings. And all my social media pages are Whey Jennings, but you want to look for blue check marks on all of them and make sure there's over 100,000, like almost 200,000 followers on the Facebook, and there's at least a blue check mark on all of them. Don't get scammed because a lot of people have come to me thinking that it was me and it wasn't me on a lot of things.
Hmm.
If you're getting messages from any of my pages, it ain't my page. I'm telling you that right now. But if you look on my website, like I said, my entire schedule is down there. I got 3 Texas gigs, and then I come home for about 4 days, and I go back down to Alabama for a Christmas party, and then I'm taking time off with my family for the rest of the year, and then we start back up in February. So that's the way my schedule's going on that.
Hmm.
And if you want to download my music, you can go to any streaming platform that you do to get that done. And follow me on social media. I have morning coffee usually on Facebook Live. I do cooking shows on Facebook
Oh,
Live
nice.
from time to time. There's not really a schedule on that. We just kind of get on there and do them. And my whole goal on that is to unite families in the kitchen for the holidays. Because I love cooking with my kids and my wife. It turned out wife and kids to begin with, and now it's just pretty much me and my wife because my kids are busy doing other things. But we like to look up recipes and cook food on there. So if you want to look up that stuff, but I do ask if you go to YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, or anything like, please subscribe. I'm trying to get my numbers up on that. We're doing great as far as views on our videos and on our stuff like that, but I'm trying to get these followers up. So I mean, subscriptions up. So if you could subscribe, it's free. Just subscribe to my YouTube, subscribe to Spotify, and all that stuff. I'd be very grateful for it. I know without any one of y'all, I'd not be able to do this. So I'd like to thank you in advance for subscribing. And if you don't subscribe, thank you for at least listening to me. I love y'all.
Well, I tell you what, I think I speak for not just our listeners, but all of your fans out there. We are so proud of you, and we are delighted to be invited on this journey with you. And we look forward to seeing you here in Florida in February at the Swamp Cabbage Festival. You're going to be performing on Sunday, February 23rd at about 2:30 in good old Barron Park right there in LaBelle, Florida. And I, for one, cannot wait to meet you in person and see you there. Congratulations on all of your incredible successes and your journey. We're going to be right there with you every step of the way. Thank you again for honoring us with your presence today. And we look forward to seeing more from Whey Jennings and Company in the near future.
Thank you so much. I can't wait to meet you. It's
My
going to be great.
pleasure. See you soon.
All right. See you later. Have a good one.
That's it for today's episode of The Sounds of Florida. Thanks for tuning in and spending your time with us. If you found value in today's conversation, share it with a friend or on social media. We'd greatly appreciate it. And don't forget to join us next time where we'll be diving into our next featured artist. Until then, take care and keep listening to The Sounds of Florida.